All right, I discovered that the rear end in this little Plymouth is a tad bit too wide. You can see that wheels are rubbing, and it doesn't have no chunk in it. So, just so happened to be that at our local U-Put, there was a 65 Plymouth Fury, still had the rear end in it. One little problem is these pads are a little bit wide, so I'm gonna have to chop them and move them in, but the width is good. Also, we got drive shaft. It's a little bent, but get the yoke and a 727 push button we got just basically for parts. So I'm going to see if the tail shaft is going to fit in the mobile home 727. So got to get this tore down and see if it's going to fit. Maybe, maybe not. We will see. All right, before I go start welding on new spring perches onto this rear end, I wanted to get it cleaned up because it's pretty grungy. And I've got several different methods of grunge removal: wire wheel, stripper pad, brake cleaner, oven cleaner. So between all that, hopefully we can get this dude cleaned up really good. So we're gonna go ahead and get going on that. Making some progress on getting this rear end cleaned up. I disconnected the brake line so we can get in there and clean better. And while I'm waiting for the oven cleaner to do its magic, I'm gonna go over here and get started on taking out this rear end, or what there's left of it, and see if we can't get that up out of there and get it out of the way. Alright, I had to lower the axle down to get the wheels out of there because this rear end is just way too wide. Got it lowered down on some blocks of wood, got the wheels out, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't get these U-bolts out. And I'm thinking if I take one of the backing plates off, it'll be easier to drag it across the leaf springs. So we're going to get busy with that. Okay, now that we got that rear end out of there, we are going to need these leaf spring brackets and U-bolts, but they're pretty rusty, so they are going to go into the evapor rust. So we'll come back tomorrow and let this stuff do its magic. I love this stuff. Man, they're gonna come out clean, like brand new. Awesome. There we go. Now we can get back. All right, we got the rear end cleaned up real good, and I hoisted the rear end onto the tailgate of our old pickup truck here, and this is what I got going on. Okay, these axle perches are an inch too far that way, so what I've done is what I call targeting it. Welded on this piece of angle iron, stick a bolt in there, and we're gonna chop these off. I've got new perches on order, and move it over an inch. Same over here. This will go like so, and I'll clamp it right here with the vice grips. And we've already got our hole to line up our other one, going this way and that way, and so on. So now that I've got it all lined up, I can go ahead and start chopping off these axle perches. So we're gonna go ahead and get busy doing that. Okay, it's off. Now I got lots of grinding to do. Okay, we got one cut off and one to go over there. But I noticed that this factory weld got some serious undercut right here. So I think I'm gonna do a little weld repair because the new bracket's gonna go right over that. So before I weld on the new bracket, I wanna get that fixed up and filled in and smoothed down good. I just don't like it gouging into the tube that far. So we'll get that fixed up, get the other one cut off, and I've got my new axle purchase coming on eBay. Supposed to be here sometime next week, but got to get these old ones off before we can put new ones on. So we're gonna keep on going on this. All right, it is the next day, and I got some help unloading this rear end onto these jack stands. And now that we got it up in the shop, I think I'm gonna go ahead and fire up the little baby plasma cutter and see if we can't chop this one off. Yeah, it's that took a lot of grinding on that side, so we'll see if we can't chop this one off and grind it down smooth, and then when our new purchase come in, can move them over slightly and weld them up really good. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can chop this dude off. Okay, as usual, the little tiny plasma cutter worked really good. I'm really impressed. We cashed in on some aluminum cans and bought that on eBay or Amazon, I can't remember, a couple of years ago. And man, when you need it, it just comes in so handy. I mean, scrap aluminum cans versus Plasma cutter? Yeah, okay. You know, I didn't expect it to even hardly work, but it seems to work pretty good. So, yeah, good investment, I guess. So, all right, so we got a little more grinding to do on this right here and smooth it out, and I think we'll be good to go for putting on our other leaf spring perches and getting this so it'll fit in a little Plymouth. So we go ahead and clean this up, and I think next Wednesday our perches will come in, and then we'll get back on this and start welding them on. Alright, I've got that dude plasma cut off and ground down, and I also filled in the undercut that the factory welds had, smoothed it out. It was probably going to be okay, but it was bugging me. So got that all filled in, got it cleaned up. Now all we got to do is wait for our new spring perches to come in, and we can go ahead and weld this up. Slap some paint on it. This is kind of a budget build, so you know, we got a junkyard axle. I'm gonna throw it in there, see how it does. You know, we can always take the chunk out and work on it. That's what's kind of nice about these. But maybe later on I'll go through and put some seals in it and new gasket and stuff. But for now, I just want that thing to be able to roll around. So that's probably going to be good enough for now. So just wait on those spring perches to come in and we'll be in business. Okay, I checked on them. It looks like it's going to be another week till they get here. So we're going to have to set this dude aside and start working on other stuff. This is Sunday, and it's going to be a whole week. But when they get here, I'm going to go ahead and get them welded on there. Okay, I want to see how our U-bolts and leaf spring brackets turned out in the evapor rust. Well, looks like, yeah, it looks like it got it pretty good. Let's see what else we got in here. Yeah, a little bit of washing off. I think they'll be good. There's the shock mount. Yeah, I think we can get these cleaned up. Throw a little paint on them. They'll be awesome. Yeah, I think they're gonna be good. Get these washed off and see how they look. Well, it's a week later, and my spring perches came in, and got to get some of this paint off of them and tack them in place and weld them up. Also got my U-bolts and shock brackets all painted up, cleaned up, so once we get this rear end ready to go in, we'll have something to bolt it in with. So we're going to go ahead and get these cleaned up a little bit and tack them in place. right, we got our spring perches welded on, and our little temporary brackets off. So, the older stuff is really rare in the U-pullet places, so when I saw that Fury, I said, man, we got to snag that up. Even though it don't fit, but we made it fit. So, I think I'm going to do a little more cleaning up and slather some paint on this dude so we can get it up in there and get the little Plymouth rolling around. I had a whole bunch of POR 15 mixed up while I was painting the underside of the Trans Am. So I went ahead and sprayed down the rear end, got it slathered on really good with POR 15. So now we got our spring perches welded on, got it pretty well preserved and painted up. So once this dries, we can go ahead and put it back in there and we'll have a rolling chassis finally. So, gonna wait until that paint dries and then try to see if we can get that dude up in there, get some wheels on it. All right, it's the next day, and of course yesterday we got this rear end all painted up with POR 15, and if I can get some help, I'm gonna go ahead and put it up in there. I'm gonna have to do a little touch up where the jack stands were, and it's gonna get scratched up dragging it across the leaf springs and whatnot. So we'll just do a little touch up once it's up in there, and maybe we'll see if later on we can find some brake parts and you know, but for right now we just want it to roll around. We want to see if we can get the little Plymouth to roll around so we can push it up in the shop, maybe put on the lift and look around at things and stuff, and do a little more cleaning up and maybe fix a few little odds and ends before we get our motor back from the machine shop. And we're waiting on a transmission to be shipped in. It's a core and we got a rebuild kit for it, but if we can get this in there, then we got a rolling chassis. So that's the goal for right now, to get it rolling so it can at least push it around. So let's see if I can find a little help and put this up in there and we'll be rolling. Okay, I got a little help getting this rear end up in here and got all my U-bolts and everything all cleaned up, and somebody's got some air shocks on here, and might even see if I can find some nuts and washers just so they won't be dangling. I doubt they work, but well, there's hoses connected to them. We'll have to see. Well, that'd be kind of cool if they still work, but you know, I don't know. We'll have to check that out. But I'm gonna go ahead and get these U-bolts on here, and we'll see if we can't get this thing rolling around. Okay, I got the floor jack under here so we can see if we can get these shocks to line up. There we go. Get this dude on there. Get this on there. Okay. What did I do with my wrench? Oh, there it is. Right. Now we won't have shocks dangling around. Get the other side on and see if we can get the wheels on. Okay. Got the rear end up in there. Got the wheels on. And didn't have the right lug nuts for this side. And if you're a Mopar fan, you probably already know this. But over here on the driver's side, they use left-hand lugs. And surprisingly, O'Reilly's had a whole bunch of them in stock. So, I'm going to get these lugs on, tighten up the wheels. We can have a rolling chassis now. Alright, check this out. I found the fitting up in here for the air shocks. And I'm going to see if they actually work. Let's just give this a shot. See if they pop or something. We'll see. I'm going to air them up and see what happens. I think they work a little bit. Yeah, it raises up a tiny bit. Well, that's cool. Alright, so now we have a roller. We got the rear end up in there. And we can push it around, move it where we need to. It would hardly roll with that other rear end in there. It had no third member. Axles were all crooked and everything. So now my son, meanwhile, has been rebuilding this 727, and he took parts from 3 different transmissions, and we got this core, and got a kit from Summit Racing for, you know, pretty reasonable price. And he didn't want to be on video, so I think we'll just get it cleaned up, throw a little paint on it, make it look good. And motor's still in the machine shop, but they say they're almost done. Now she sets real high in the front now, but with that 440 in it, she's gonna just come right down, you know, and that'll be cool. But been working on a lot of little odds and ends on this thing, and it's coming along. So that's gonna be about it for this video, and next time around we'll be doing a little body work on it, fixing some of the little rust spots, and try to get it looking a little better. So we appreciate you all watching, and tune in or subscribe if you want to see more of this little Plymouth.